have to wait till people come in.
Okay.
We have one person in right now, but I feel like there will be more soon. And I did have people ask on my Instagram questions. When you guys start coming in, let me know if you guys can hear everything okay. I'm still not like sure about the YouTube live thing, but my last one went very well, so we'll have to see.
What kind of stuff are they going to be? Are they going to ask the basic questions about working from home?
Yes. People kind of ask just like what your daily routine is, I guess.
Oh, she can hear.
Oh, hi, Hannah. Okay, good. Oh, people are dropping out. Hi, Savannah. Okay, so yes. Oh my gosh, nobody wants to hang out with you, Dad.
No, well, fuck them.
Okay, let's take hi Nat, hi Savannah. Oh, you have questions? Okay, good, because my dad is here to answer them. Come join. I'm gonna make a little post on my Instagram. Join us for our YouTube live now. Okay. What?
She's laughing because, well, I'm not supposed to curse, right?
No, you're fine. Okay, so Natalie said, I just started working from home a few days ago and I'm struggling because I feel like I'm not as productive in my house space. And when I shut off, I don't feel as relaxed. How do you go about it? It's kind of a loaded question right now.
Matt, I definitely think that in terms of productivity, I think it's really important to stay connected, especially with. It definitely helps if you're working with colleagues or other people online to make sure that you check in with other people, to try to make a point to maybe stay on Slack and converse with these people and check in and have daily meetings or updates. I think that helps kind of you just start doing it. They can't really separate sort of like their life from, sort of like being home as far as they're supposed to be working. On the other hand, it's really easy to just kind of sit on the couch and like start watching TV, which I think that as long as I've been working from home, I never do that. Basically, when I get up in the morning, I take a shower, I go into my office, and then I basically treat it like a work day. So I think it's really important to try to sort of maintain that sort of schedule because it's really easy being at home to kind of fall prey to sort of other chores or other things that you could be doing outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but I have a home gym in my garage, so sometimes I'll get away and I'll work out for a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, you can ask Chessie or anybody in the house. I mean, usually my daily routine during the week is I'm in my office with the door closed and I'm talking to people or I'm behind the computer.
Yeah.
So I really do treat it like a work day.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with him just having like so much experience with it. Like I said in the title, he's been doing this for 14 years since we moved to North Carolina. He's worked from home. And he has gone through periods where he's doing a lot of like traveling for work to be in the office, but his job does allow him to be at home. I do think that you're going to have to like probably repeat a lot of questions.
Because I definitely think that, especially if you're doing it for the first time and you're working for a company, it's really important to probably try to go out of your way to be accessible. Because I think a lot of times, when you do work from home, there is sort of like a stigma, even with employers, that they don't know what the fuck you're doing all day. Like, if they don't actually have you on a conference call or they don't actually see what it is you're producing, they think that you're not doing shit. So I think it's really important to really be accessible, to really provide status updates every day on what you're doing and what you've accomplished, and to kind of get into that routine, because then people will start to trust what it is that you're doing, you know?
All right. So having that like trusting between your employer and the work that you're doing at home.
I think even, I mean, you know, like a lot of times the people that I work with, you know, half the time they don't know what it is that I'm doing during the day. But they don't know until I actually, you know, hand in some of the projects that I'm working on. So sometimes it is important to sort of maintain that conversation, you know?
Yeah. So Claudia wants to know if you set your own schedule or do you coordinate with other workers?
My schedule, because I work in an office where people actually do go into the office. I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but my office is in Miami. So I do work with a lot of people that are actually in an office working. So I have to kind of coordinate my schedule according to them. So when they get into the office, usually I'm ready to work around 8:30, and then my day probably closes up around 6:30. Usually. Somebody had a really good question about snacking during the day.
Okay, Hannah, how do you control binge snacking at home, and do you turn your phone off?
Yeah. Okay. You don't. You fucking eat all day. No, seriously. I literally I have this like I pace back and forth between my office and the refrigerator, and you know.
I know. When I walk downstairs, a lot of the time he's like either finishing up in the kitchen or coming out of his office.
So I do snack a lot, and I think it is helpful to make sure that you try to maintain or have a nice wife like I do, and she tries to keep the house stocked with like nice healthy snacks, but. Yeah, that cannot be controlled. You are going to eat. So I think that the how you combat that is you work out. So I at the end of my day, almost every other day or every day, I try to work out. My workout routine is at night. So I like to work out. As soon as my day is done, I work out for like anywhere between a half hour to an hour, or sometimes I actually go to a gym and work out. So I think that's important to kind of maintain your sanity.
Yeah. And then Hannah was also wondering if you still wear work clothes to your home office.
So with that, I mean, I've been, you know, I'm a fucking OG at this. I've been doing this a long time.
I know, yeah.
So there was a time in my life where I would wake up in the morning and I would get dressed like I was going to go somewhere. You know, maybe I would even put on fucking cologne, and then I would just go into my office and work. That is not actually a reality anymore, but I definitely try to like shower in the morning, obviously, and then come downstairs, but usually I'm dressed in workout attire. So I'm comfortable. I know other people don't believe in that, and they think that, you know, working in your pajamas or whatever. Somebody posted that you reposted that he doesn't like work.
The whole reason why we started this live is because someone on Instagram, it was like a tweet, had suggested like a lot of people are working from home right now because of, you know, the events going on, and they said that like their biggest tip is if you're working from home, like still shower, still get into your work clothes,
you know,
and like
absolutely shower. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it is good to like sort of like maybe maintain some kind of routine. So obviously, you feel good. Yeah. My wife is absolutely right. You look good, you feel good. So do whatever you got to do. I mean, if you're comfortable, if you want to just wear comfortable clothes and then, you know, go. What I do, I like to work out like, you know, any chance I get. So I'll go into the garage and I'll lift some weights, maybe like during lunchtime a little bit or whatever, and then I'll just go about my day. So I mean, it is what it is. You know, to each their own.
Yeah. I also think maybe if you get in the routine of like wearing sweatpants and like a sweatshirt all day, every day for the next few weeks or whatever, the amount of time that you're working from home, it might get old and you might start feeling like a slob and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that there is something to be said about feeling good and feeling empowered, feeling important, and whatever. I mean, whatever makes you feel like you're going to be productive, and especially like for me, you know, there are times where I'm on conference calls. So yeah, I you know, like I got to take a shower and I at least got to put on a I can't be wearing like crazy concert T-shirts or whatever. Sometimes, when I'm on conference calls with important people, so I've got to actually get dressed.
Mm-hmm. Tara wants to know, what time do you set your alarm for, and what does your daily schedule look like?
So I typically don't set it, and I get down, I have coffee, and I try to get ready to work around 8:30, 8:45. And in terms of setting a routine, like I said, because I work in an office, I work with other people that are in an office, and I have to be accessible. My Slack starts blowing up. People start calling. Meetings start getting scheduled. So it's usually throughout the day. So typically, even though I'm working from home, I'm like working in an office because, I'm ready to work at 9, and I have to basically be on call or be ready to talk to people or be ready to answer to people till like 6:30.
Yeah, and he's usually on the phone.
Yeah,
usually on the phone throughout the day.
On the phone or on Slack.
Yeah, I think if you're just starting out working from home, your company probably has something implemented like Slack or Slack. So
yeah, and I think that, like I said,
bye, Tara.
I think it's super important, especially if you're working with a few other people, to make sure that you're always in touch with these people, especially when you're young in a career. I think it's really important to sort of maintain relationships and maintain sort of like productivity with your coworkers. Because you don't want to ever give up the impression that you don't ever want it to come up, or you don't want anybody ever to think that they're not really sure what you're working on and what you're doing.
Right.
And for me, because I've been doing this so long, I don't really have to answer to too many people. People, I have a pretty good track record. I have a long work history.
You've gained the respect.
Yeah. So like I could fuck off if I want to, and it's not going to really matter too much. But for somebody young in their career, it's a different story. So I really think it's important for you to really sort of maintain yourself and maintain your relationships with people in the office. And whether that be constantly sending out emails or constantly checking in or being available. I mean, I think that's very important.
Yeah. So Brianna, we can go back to a couple of the questions like before Brianna's, but she wanted to know what your profession is, and we didn't talk about that before.
Okay, so
we have a few more people here now.
I'm a creative professional. I've been working in the creative field for probably longer than Chessie's born. I started out in advertising, working in ad agencies. I'm a designer by trade, so I'm actually I went to school for art, went to school for graphic design. So I started out in advertising, then I slowly morphed into sort of web design when it started to become a thing in the late 90s. And then now I've kind of grown into, I work with a lot of startups, I work with a lot of companies. I basically design and create UI UX for applications, for products. So I'm basically a designer. Anything that needs to be designed, that's what I do. I have you could check out my work on Dribbble. I have a website, but it's not really maintained.
I can link it in the description.
Most of my new shit is on Dribbble, so I use Dribbble and Behance like other millennials.
Other millennials.
Yeah.
Was it overwhelming for your family to have you most of the time? Was it overwhelming for like us to have my dad around? No. I don't.
That's kind of funny because like I think other people are like I think my wife she's probably talked to other people and like other people that her friends or whatever, and they've asked her from time to time. It's like, what's it like having your husband home all day?
I feel like I would love that shit. Like, I just have loved having my dad around. Like, I just love having my dad, like knowing he's in his office all day and like at home.
Even though we don't talk, we don't really. I mean,
Yeah.
We don't really talk at all.
Well,
this is the most talking we've done in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my room a lot of the time too. But I just like knowing that my family is like all together a lot of the time. And I know like for like as like an outsider view into like my parents' relationship, I know like throughout the day my dad will like call out from his office and like call for my mom to like have her come in and see something funny that he saw like on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think like that's like fun.
I'm either
but
working or trolling people on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
It's
That's what I do for a living.
good time.
I like we've just made this work. So I've been doing this. I've been working basically from home since 9/11. To be honest with you, it's been a long time. I mean,
No, it's longer than that. I felt like there was a time. No, yeah, but
after I got laid,
longer than 14 years.
I got laid off from a job in Florida, and it was around 9/11, and that's when I started working for myself. And then during that time, I think I picked up a full-time job working in an office. In between then, maybe of a period of 2 years working for like e-diets. But outside of that, I've always worked from home. So as you know, for most of Chessie's life, for pretty much all of Max's life, I've worked from home. So
I thought that you really only started really working from home when we moved here.
Yeah,
I just don't have like a whole lot of good memories.
That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I've never worked anywhere here locally, but no, I mean, it started around 2001, I think.
Gotcha.
So.
Did you see Emily said your dad is deaf so attractive I would actually date him even though I'm only 20. Emily, my mom is right on the couch. Chill out. Okay. Also,
that's great though, Emily.
Okay, so also just wanted to know how y'all are doing given what's going on. Are you self-quarantining? If so, how are you finding it? We're all good, we're all healthy, we're all home, all 5 of us.
Stay home.
Yes, please stay home. Luckily, like my dad already does work from home, so we're already used to the whole like situation that's going on right now. And my job has given us the go to also stay at home starting on Thursday. I don't work again. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
This is great. I mean, play video games. I love video games. So I'll be on Xbox more.
Yeah, it'll be great. Okay. How do you manage to stay productive and not get distracted?
Well, that's a good question because I do get distracted pretty easily. Even if I'm working at my desk, I think my biggest problem is probably social media. I'm on Facebook a lot, but I am also very busy during the day.
But you've never had to like delete like an Instagram or Facebook to stop using it. I feel like some people like would delete the app.
Yeah, I find it more amusing, and I get a lot of news. Maybe that's a good or bad thing, but
yeah,
I do get a lot of. Facebook is like almost like the world's news feed right now. So
yeah,
the odd thing about it, but no, I think because my job is pretty fast paced. There are a lot of deliverables. There are a lot of things that happen a lot. I don't typically find an issue with maintaining productivity, only because I'm needed to do so much shit. So
yeah. Plus, you say that like your Slack is blowing up all day. You have to answer to people all day.
People have questions. People are always hitting me up.
I bet it has a lot to do like how productive you are. Probably does have a lot to do with also the type of work that your employer is going to be giving you. Because I feel like if your employer is going to be like, okay, work from home, and then doesn't give you any guidance, like that's going to be challenging.
Yeah, I think that if I was less busy, it would be a problem. But I think that it would actually allow me to pursue or to try to do some training. Sometimes I think that there's a lot of online resources to do like training on different applications or different subjects that I want to learn more about. That I don't necessarily always have time to take advantage of. So I think that anything that my suggestion would be that anything that you could do to maintain sharpness within your field, to try to do it. Especially now that you're working from home. I mean, you do have a lot of flexibility. You're not every second of your day is not accounted for. You should try to push that towards positivity and trying to learn new things, new skills.
Yeah. Kat, Allie did make it home safely. She's upstairs right now. We got her yesterday. Chelsea wants to know, would you recommend working from home to others who have the choice between home and office work?
I think that I'll say this. I don't think working from home is for everybody and for every situation. I do think that it is important to work in an office or collaborate from time to time. I do a lot of traveling, so I travel to the office in Miami.
Not right now. He's not traveling right now.
Yeah. No. Actually, for the past 4 years or 3 years, I travel. I shuttle back and forth to Miami a lot. Probably in the past year, it's slowed down a lot, but there was a point in time where it was every other week. I didn't like it, but I had to do it. It was part of my job. But the one thing that I did like was I did like collaborating with people. So I would fly in on Tuesday, and then I would work with my team, and I would work with other people, and then I'd fly home Thursday night. So, I mean, I kind of got used to that kind of travel routine. Sometimes it would last till Friday. There were times when we were on a crunch, and I'd have to stay down in Miami through the weekend. So that has happened. But outside of that, I mean, there is something to be said about working with other people in an office. I do think that it spawns a lot of good creativity. It spawns a lot of good collaboration. I think that working from home is probably good when, it depends. Like if your job is able to give you a project where you can kind of run off and then you can kind of do things on your own, that's a good point where, yeah, I could take this home and I can work on it, but, I think that there's a good mix of both. And I think that especially when you're young in your career, I think it is important to have to show face. Look, I'm in my late 40s. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I don't need to be anywhere. I mean, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I mean, fuck them. I mean, I've been working this long.
Yeah.
So, my situation is different from your situation. If you're in your 20s, you're just getting established. You're getting started with your career. It is
especially like this time, there's a lot of people that are like newly working from home and doing school from home right now.
I definitely think working from home is not going to be the norm for everyone, and especially depending on where your career is. So,
right.
I think it's a different situation for everyone.
So I think someone else asked again what line of work my dad is in, and just like he's in like a creative field.
Yeah, I design stuff.
Yeah,
I design websites. I design whatever.
Yeah,
I make pretty pictures.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have to answer that again in like probably a little bit. So would you go back to an office job after working from home for so long?
That would depend. That would greatly depend. It would depend on the office. It would depend on the type of people I'm working with, and it would actually depend on the commute. I mean, I don't want to commute anywhere. I mean, if I lived 20 minutes away from where it was, yeah, sure. But I'm not gonna.
I think you going back to the office would require us to move.
Yeah, I mean, like if I had to commute for an hour, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do what I'm doing. But again, my situation is not the same as your situation. I've been doing this a long time, and I've built enough of a career where I can make those types of decisions. There was a point in time in my life when, when Chelsea was a baby, we moved to Boston, and I had a fucking like hour and a half commute. And we lived in Natick, Massachusetts.
Oh my God.
Yeah, literally, we lived in Natick, Massachusetts. I worked in downtown Boston.
Before podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I took the commuter rail in. Before that I drove in, but we only had one car. But then I got to a point where I would take the commuter rail in, and then I would have to take a shuttle bus when the train dropped me off to the office. So, I mean, door to door was like well over an hour and a half, and I did that shit for like two years. I still think of it as one of my favorite jobs. I mean, it was like the people that I work with, the president of the company. He just loved his people so much. He had 200 people working for him, and he treated everybody like, like his best friend. I'm Bink Garrison, great guy. I still like it. Christmas greetings from Christmas emails from him, and he's well retired. But man, I love the guy.
Good leader.
I love the people that I work with. So that made a difference. I mean, they recruited me from Florida. They flew me up and said, "Hey, we want you to work for us." And at the time, I was 24. I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it!" And we moved to Boston in January. I mean, how stupid
Floridians moved to Boston in January.
At the time, it was a gamble, and gamble paid off. I mean, it really set my career up. I mean, I met a lot of great people from that job.
And you still stay connected with a lot of those people?
I try to. Yeah.
Do employees who work from home often travel for business?
It depends on the type of work you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that I think Todd down the street, I mean, he works in sales. I mean, I think he's traveling all the time, but he works from home, and he might have to check into an office every once in a while. It really depends on the job. I mean, not every job is going to require you to travel, and not everybody is really built for travel either. I mean,
right.
I travel because I have to, but to be honest with you, I fucking hate it. I mean, you would think that
I don't like when he travels.
Yeah,
either.
You would think that going down to Miami, staying in a nice hotel, working in Brickell, Miami is a great thing, but no, I'd rather be home.
Right. So do you want to answer again how you don't get distracted?
Well, I do get distracted. So I think that, like I said before, I mean, I think that it's just, I think you have to try to work yourself into a routine. And I think that, I think the more you collaborate with people, the less distracted you'll be. I think that if you don't have to answer anybody, then it's really easy to just get on your couch and start watching ESPN or start playing video games.
Right.
Which, I've done before, but I try to treat my office like it's my workplace. So when I step into my office, I try to be there for work. Yeah, I might be doing other things. I might be looking on blogs, and I might be doing other things outside of work. But at the same time, I'm also there for my employees. I'm there for my coworkers.
Yeah. Abby was just thanking us for taking the time to help as much as you can in such a stressful time. And that's a big reason why I felt that this was important, is because my dad has so much experience working from home. And I know a lot of people right now are in the position where their employers are transitioning to working from home, and a lot of people are doing schooling from home too.
Yeah. So. I feel like this is going to be the new normal, to be honest with you. I feel like
you think this is going to be this event is going to transition a lot of people.
Well, I think it's going to change businesses a little bit, and I think that businesses are going to find out that maybe allowing employees to work from home might make them more productive in some cases. I think that unless you're in an industry or in a service industry where you have to be with people, or you're doing services for people one-on-one, I think that more corporations, more companies, like companies that I currently do, like consulting firms or ad agencies or companies like that, I think that they're going to allow their employees to work from home more. I think that it's kind of been trending that way anyway, and I think this event is going to kind of push that along, because I think that if companies realize that they can save money on less workspace and allowing and just buying equipment for their employees and letting them work from home, as long as everybody's on Zoom or everybody's on Slack, I think that they'll find. I think this is going to change our economy one way or the other. And I think that this is going to be.
I think it would help pollution too. Not as many cars.
Yeah, did you see that? There was a post I saw. It was pretty amazing. They showed Venice. In Italy.
Are you talking about the river?
Yeah, the canals there are crystal clear right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this was maybe there's not a whole lot of good that's coming out of this right now, but I think that it might have been Mother Nature's way of being like, you guys need to take a seat. You guys need to chill out.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
It might be a good thing in the long run. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of scary right now. I mean,
It
I
is
think
scary.
everybody's going. I mean, like even myself. You know, we were on some conference calls today, and businesses are looking to pivot, trying to find any way that they could kind of answer to this sort of like crisis. And you know, sadly, I mean, you know, a lot of these companies are going to have to make cuts. You know, they're either going to have to make pay reductions or they're going to have to cut jobs. So that is a reality. But you know, nothing is forever. I mean, I think that this will pass, just like everything else.
Yeah. We can probably switch over to some questions on Instagram right now. So, where in the house does he work? My dad has a whole office.
Mm-hmm.
He has a whole office with like a desk and like a couple monitors set up.
Yeah.
And that's that. But what would you recommend for someone who's just started working from home right now because that's what their work has told them to do?
More than likely, they're going to send you home with a laptop. And my suggestion would be to I personally, I mean, I have a laptop and I have a desktop. I have a laptop because I travel a lot. I've never found that I could work on my laptop like in the living room. You know, I think that having the TV on is fucking distracting, and working a lot. Sometimes you know, like if I'm just answering emails or whatever, that's fine. But to actually be productive, I need to sit at a desk.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I think it's, you know, get yourself a workspace, set aside maybe kitchen table, your dining room table, set your laptop up, you know, set up whatever it is you need and create that sort of like workspace, because I think that it's important to have that workspace away from the television, away from like, you know, easy distractions, and then just like focus on whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, you know, have your Sonos and have your Spotify on or whatever if you need to, but I mean, really, you should have your own little area to work.
Because you do listen to podcasts. You listen to Joe Rogan sometimes while you're working.
I listen to. I try to
listen to Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. I was a big Howard Stern. I don't listen to Howard Stern. He just kind of bores me.
And do you take a proper lunch break?
I do actually. I you know, like I typically like probably around noon. Like when everybody else in the office eats lunch, or when I know that they're at lunch, is usually when I, you know, usually like between 12 and 2 is kind of like my free time, because I don't know when. Because I don't know when people are taking lunch at my office, so I kind of assume that between 12 and 2
at least someone else is on lunch break.
It's kind of like my grace period, you know. So like I know between 12 and 2, I'm not going to really be bothered. Unless I have a meeting scheduled.
Someone said a good point. Away from your bed, also. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, you don't want to be fucking, unless you're sick, unless you're fucking got coronavirus and shit, and you're laying in bed. Yeah, don't try to work in bed with your laptop. I don't find that helpful. I don't find that productive.
Yeah,
I definitely think that you should make the effort to get the fuck out of your bed.
Yeah, and also I think like when you go to bed later that night, it might not feel like some downtime.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I've worked from my bed before, and it's because I've been sick. Like,
and he's the worst sick person.
I'm terrible. So yeah.
Someone wants to know how you avoid burnout.
I mean, I don't think you can get burned out if you enjoy what you do. Thankfully,
or if you seek like places for inspiration, which you say that like collaborating sparks a lot of inspiration for you.
I happen to actually like what I do when I'm immersed in a project, or I'm immersed in like things that I have to get done. I like to design stuff. I like to come up. I like to solve problems visually. So I like that about my job. The only time I get burnout is when I'm working with assholes. When I work with people that I can't stand, and
you just don't want to do it for them.
Yeah, I don't want to do it for them, or I'm kind of like, you know, I'm dealing with a lot of fucking political bullshit. Yeah, that's when you can easily get burned out by shit like that. But you know, at the same time, I mean, just do your job, blinders, and you know, try to figure it out from there. I mean, if you experience that a lot, then it's time to move on. And, you know, you got to find other people to work with. But thankfully, for the most part, I mean, like I work with a good group of people that I really like, and yeah, like uh, sometimes we'll fight and we'll argue like siblings, but at the end of the day, I think we have a healthy respect for each other. So
Yeah. Do you have like procrastination problems? Like, do
I
you?
do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, someone wants to know how you avoid procrastination.
Um, I don't know.
Still trying to figure that
Yeah.
out.
If you can help me with that, I would definitely. Yeah, I do procrastinate in certain things. I don't ever procrastinate on my job. Um, at least I try not to. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like one thing okay, so I don't know if this applies to everyone, but this definitely applies to my field. I worked with a creative director like many years ago. Actually, my first job out of school, and great guy. And he said something to me that stuck with me, and I've kind of carried that through my entire career. And he said, "Look, you don't have to be the most talented person. In fact, a lot of people, eh, eh, really talented people, they all fall victim to the same thing. But if you can turn in your work on time, you are ahead of almost everyone." And that there's something to be said about that. So, that kind of stuck with me in the sense that, even if your work is not the best, if you say you're going to get something done and you get it done, you're ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that you shouldn't produce quality, but there's something to be said about not fucking up a deadline.
Yeah, being able to say that you're accountable and
Yeah.
being accountable.
And so that's always stuck with me, and I take pride on, somebody says, "Hey man, we need this done by Thursday. Can you get it done?" And I say, "Yeah, I'll get it done by Thursday." You get it fucking done by Thursday. You don't come up with an excuse on Thursday and say, "Oh, this happened, that happened." No, unless like you fucking lose an arm, you get it done. You just do your job. And even if it's not the best work that you can do, there might be reasons for it. It's because you weren't given a proper timeline, you weren't given the proper materials. But if you said that you could get it done, make your best effort to turn something in. And I think that you're not in school anymore. You're in the real world. You have to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of stuck with me because I work in a creative field where, yeah, everybody gets caught up on, they want it to look pretty. They want the best logo. They want the best design. They want this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? I've worked with a lot of really talented designers, and they could not keep a fucking deadline to save their life. They would procrastinate. They would say, "Oh, this happened, that happened. I gotta, blah 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 blah." They come up with every excuse in the book. And when they would turn in their work was beautiful. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're running a business. I need it fucking done. So get your work done.
Yeah. It's good words. How do you get your exercise in?
Um, I work out in my garage for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I work out in my garage, and I do. My son and I go to an MMA gym. We've been doing that for highest on MMA. We've been training MMA. I've been training MMA for about 10 years, and Max has been doing it since he was 6. So we love our gym. I try to get there at least once a week. There was a time when I would be there 3-4 nights a week, but because of my work, my schedule gets a little crazy these days. So sometimes I try to get there during the week. I was planning on getting back there this week, but because of this sort of quarantine, didn't really work out that way. But yeah, I think that whatever it is that you could do to kind of stay in shape, to stay sane, whatever that may be, even if it's getting outside your house and walking your dog. I mean, whatever. I think that there's something to be said about working out and feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a big believer in it because it really works for me. And even if you don't have a gym or equipment, there's plenty of websites in fact, I just posted the other day a prison workout. Yeah, what guys do in prison
From
to stay in
shot caller?
No, yeah. It's like it's like push-ups, sit-ups,
nothing else to do.
Yeah, you're confined in a little space, and there's different ways that you can work out. So I get into shit like that. So.
Is this the Heather that who's gonna get married?
Oh, it is Heather. Hey, what's up, Heather? How's it going?
Okay.
Heather and Devin, good people.
Yeah, a lot of people are just like wondering about how you stay motivated. What are good ways to stay motivated? Oh, here's another food question. What do you eat? Snacks, lunch, and breakfast. What's your
Okay, let's go through a typical routine.
Yeah.
Breakfast, I have 2 cups of coffee, 2 big cups of coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. I don't know if that's good or bad. Breakfast, I usually have 3 to 4 eggs on a piece of toast, a little bit of cheese. I've been getting into those little veggie patties because
yeah,
we went vegan
like
for a little
Morning Star.
Yeah. I went vegan for like 2 weeks, maybe.
Plant-based.
I went plant-based for like 2 weeks, and I liked it, but man, a lot of that fiber really got to me, man.
Kept you regular.
Yeah, it really did. So like, yeah, I have a bunch of eggs in the morning. I try to cut down my egg intake. I used to eat like eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner almost.
Yeah, but your
But my
cholesterol came
cholesterol
up.
went through the fucking roof, and it didn't help that I was on keto at the time too.
Mhm.
So for breakfast, I have eggs and toast. For lunch, depending on what it is, maybe I'll have like a little bit of chicken with vegetables. And then for dinner, it really depends on what we cook or what's in the house.
Yeah.
I try to eat.
And he's a good cook too.
Yeah, I try to eat pretty clean, or I try to eat pretty healthy during the week, and then on the weekends, I think that we kind of let loose a little bit. Today wasn't really a healthy day. We had pastrami sandwiches and some beer for St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. Just celebrating though.
Yeah.
Someone does want to know on any ideas to set up a workspace because the bed won't be a good place.
Well, you have the kitchen table, dining room table. Maybe even go to IKEA and buy yourself a little desk. I mean,
or maybe so you're just suggesting any room that doesn't usually have a TV in it.
Yeah, I think that I think there's something to be said about having a workspace, no matter what that is. I don't feel like your bed is a workspace. I don't feel like your couch is a workspace. So come up with another idea, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's important.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people are just like curious about how you stay focused and stuff, and how you stay motivated. Do you have any other comments on that?
Well, like I said, I mean, I think that motivation and focus is really dependent on the type of the work that you do and the type of deliverables that you're dealing with. I guess I'm lucky enough to live or to work in an environment where there is a lot going on, and there's a lot to answer to. There's whether there's meetings or emails that I have to answer, so that kind of helps me stay focused or motivated to a certain extent. I think that if you work in a job where it's kind of open ended and they give you some tasks and then they don't really have it's kind of open ended on when you can get it done. I could kind of see how it'd be difficult to try to maintain focus because, you could easily procrastinate and then say, I pretty much have like all week to work on this, and then you don't really do it until you don't start thinking about it until Thursday. I don't think that's helpful, but I think that I do think that if you have the privilege of working from home, and I do think it's a privilege because a lot of people wish they can work from home. To be honest with you, I think that I think that you should treat it with respect, and you should treat your employer with respect, and you should reach out and you should try to sort of maintain that contact. I think it's like I was saying earlier before, it's really important to maintain contact, maintain dialogues with your employees, with your employer. Make sure that they understand and they know what you're working on. I think there's something to be said about that. And I think that they'll trust you to work from home more if they know that you can be productive.
Yeah, and I think that answers what Nat was saying. She said, I'm trying to show my boss that working from home is more productive so he can implement it somehow into our company. how would you suggest I could show how effective it is? And that's kind of
Well,
what you were
so
suggesting.
yeah, I think that so a lot of companies, or I think a lot of people, they, maybe, how do I think what I'm trying to say is that I think that maybe trying to maybe come up with a policy or coming up with some sort of system or
Mhm.
procedure on how you work from home.
Yeah.
And what that might mean is that, hey, look, maybe you want to hold a daily stand up, a call in the morning
Mm.
and to check in with a group of people, whether it be you and a couple other people, just to see what they're working on and to be able to collaborate and then be able to fire off an email after that and saying, hey, look, this is what we discussed today. This is what we plan on accomplishing either today or the next couple of days. And then these are some questions that kind of arose. And if you kind of come up with those types of communication chains
Yeah.
with your employer, I think that they'll start to see that, this could totally work. And then, obviously using tools like Slack or Zoom or Google Hangouts, I think that that's super important. We use Slack exclusively at our job, but I know I've worked at other companies where it was Google Hangouts or it was other things, GoToMeeting. All of those tools are readily available, and there's so many different ones. I think that getting into the habit of sort of like collaborating in that manner, I think goes a long way, and it
Yeah.
almost replaces sort of like having to be one to one with people,
Mhm.
which is like super important.
And then Nat also asked a good one of how do you organize your work to be done by priority? Because she was like curious about like if you chunk your time, which would be like you work for like 1 hour and then take a break and then like
Um,
so forth.
so like I don't always practice what I preach here, but I will say that any time in the past where I've been able to, back in the day, it was a lot of times we'd use stickies, or a lot of times I use my notes app on my Mac. But sometimes what I'll do is if I have a especially busy week, I try to sort of like bullet point out things that I want to accomplish, whether they be for the day or they be for the next few days.
So you're a lister.
Yeah, I try. I think it's helpful to at least, even if you don't check off everything on your list, it's definitely helpful to take an inventory on the things that you know about in your head
Mm-hmm.
and have them there in front of you, because then you do feel a sense of accomplishment as you start to take a few things off of them. So I think that I don't always do that, but I do know that when there's like a heavy crunch times, or there's heavy things that are happening, especially with my job, I do tend to do them more. I don't always do them like, I wish I made a habit of having a to-do list every day, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person.
Right.
But I do think that they're helpful, and if they can help you, I think I have at it. I mean, I think that that's awesome.
Good night, Nat. Yeah, definitely leave your bed and go outside to work. That might be more productive for you. So someone says that you really struggle to do homework in a home environment. How do you make the switch? And he's basically been taught, my dad's been basically talking about that throughout, saying that you should create like a proper workspace for yourself. Even if you're limited on space, just find somewhere in your home um, where you can like kind of limit your distractions and it not be like on your bed or on your couch.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Oh, Heather had a question. What was that?
mhm.
How,
You can read it.
oh, how frequently do you typically have a stand-up type meeting to regroup with the entire team? Well, with my job, I mean, typically I circle up with leadership in the morning, and then a lot of times, probably um, during the week, we have like two set meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays to check in with developers and with the greater portion of the team. And they have their own sort of meetings, but me personally, that's when I sort of get together with them and try to figure a few things out. So daily in the morning, I check in with leadership. I check in with my group. First thing almost every morning. And sometimes it's like my boss, my partner, he'll call me on his way to work, and he'll talk to me about things that came up in the that night or the night before. And a lot of times, it's funny. We laugh all the time, but like I never have a set schedule. I haven't like I know what I'm working on tomorrow, but I have no idea what I'm going to be working on Friday. You know,
Mm.
so a lot of times what we have to do, especially for the type of work that I do, it pivots every day.
All
So
right.
yeah, a lot of people asking questions. Huh?
Yeah. Um, Someone wants to just know about what hobbies you would want to start doing. What
What
does
hobbies
the
would I want to start doing?
what does the child inside you enjoy or feel like starting to do, whether it's hobbies that you haven't done yet?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I'd like to paint. To be honest with you, I would like to paint again.
You could order some paints from Amazon.
No,
You'll
it's too
have some
messy. I
time.
used to paint a lot when I was younger.
Hmm.
Um, also, it sounds stupid, but my uncle when I was a kid growing up, he made a lot of models, and I feel like when I get old, I'm gonna start making models,
Like,
like fucking battleships and planes and shit. Putting them together and painting them.
okay. I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, one of my uncles in Thailand when
Hmm.
he came here and I used to piss him off all the time because I was a kid and he'd make all these
You
planes.
probably broke
I
them.
broke a lot of them. I played with them. So.
What a little jerk. I don't think that we have any more like unique questions. I feel like a lot of everything that people are curious about, my dad has already answered basically. And if you're just tuning in, I am going to leave this live stream up for you to watch at your convenience. But is there anything else you would like to say about working from home, or just giving advice for people who are about to start working from home or doing their schoolwork from home and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I think that, like I said before, I think that this is going to be I think this is going to be the norm. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, I think that prepare for um, I, I, life as we know it to change drastically, at least for the next few months. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of like battling this sort of thing in terms of like trying to figure out how to maintain productivity and working from home is like kind
Yeah.
of like a new thing for them. It's certainly not new for me, but I do think that it really depends on where you're at in your career and where you're at in life. I think that if you're younger and you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're trying to ascend in your career, I definitely think that you have to definitely take steps to sort of like maintain communication
Hmm.
and get yourself out in front.
Yeah. Show that you are an accountable
Yeah,
employee.
I think that that's really, really important.
Hmm.
Like I said, I have nothing to prove anymore in my line of work. In fact, I'm closer to retirement than I am in terms of working years. That's how I like to think about it anyway. Because I don't want to fucking work anymore. But for you guys, I mean, a lot of people are just starting out in their careers. I definitely think that there is something to be said about, like I said, being accountable, getting your work done on time, and making sure that when people call you, you're there to answer. A lot of times people get ghosts. People ghost their phone and like I can't get a hold of this person. What's going on? Blah blah blah. You know that happens more often than you think. And I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon, but it really does happen with a lot of younger people that I work with. A lot of these people, like like sometimes you can't get fucking a hold of them.
Interesting, because people are always complaining about young people being on their phones all day.
Well, they selectively fucking answer their phone is what it is because they know that I'm calling. But
Mhm.
there is something to be said about being accountable, like Jesse says. I mean, it's super important. And if you want to ascend in your career and you want to be out in front, you want to show the boss, you want to show leadership that you are responsible and you're somebody that they can trust, and
Yeah.
then you'll go places for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's good advice, because I think that right now is a little bit of a scary time, especially for young people like just getting started in the workforce, and to kind of have this thrown at them.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
it's a little scary.
And like I said, I do think that this is a privilege, guys. Working from home is definitely it's a privilege for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you gave most people the sort of like choice of whether they get in their car, pump gas into their car, and then commute for an hour through traffic to work in an office. They'd much rather be home. But at the same time, you have to treat that with respect too. I mean, working
Yeah.
from home shouldn't be a free for all.
I like that. That's good.
All right.
Okay, well, yeah, we're an hour in. I think that we're going to oh dang, Brooke, we're leaving now.
Dude,
But
we talked for an hour.
I know, yeah.
Seriously?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fun doing a live stream. But yeah, we are gonna head out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys had really good questions. If there's any other questions that you guys like have while you're like watching this at a later time or something, you can comment them, and then I can have my dad kind of like
follow
follow
me
my dad,
for more recipes.
Oh yeah, he's a good cook. I'll leave his YouTube account down below.
I don't
And
have
I'll
anything on my YouTube.
Yeah, but
Just
you have
him
one
follow me on
video.
Instagram,
Okay, I will. Okay. Well, bye guys. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Stay indoors, please. Please stay indoors. And I'll see you guys in a YouTube video. Bye.
All right.